today we are exploring the implications and impact of Nigeria First policy being introduced recently by the federal government. The federal government on Monday, May 5, announced a new policy known as Nigeria First, aimed at promoting local production and prioritizing domestic products in government procurement and contract. Mohammed Idris, the Minister of Information and National Orientation, said with this policy, Nigeria now comes first in all procurement processes, which entails that no foreign goods or devices that are already being produced locally will be procured without a clear and justifiable reason. Since this announcement of this policy, there have been reactions from key stakeholders within the economy, especially members of the organized private sector of Nigeria, who have welcomed the initiative, albeit cautiously. Well, to discuss the desirability and the expected implications of this new policy on the Nigerian economy, we're now being joined by Mr. Wale Smart Onyeride. He's the Director General of Nigeria Employers Consultative Association, NECA. Of course, you're welcome to the show, Mr. Onyeride.
Thank you and good morning.
Good morning to you, sir. Let me start by asking you this morning, why does this policy why does it seem exciting to the organized private sector?
Thank you. You know, it's beyond the excitement that with consequential effects, positive effects that we believe it will bring to us. It will surprise you that last year or 2 years ago, or in the last 24 months, the level of unsold stock that the manufacturers have to deal with was running to over $500 million naira. Over $1 billion naira unsold stocks. And the reason why you have that is because our propensity to patronize foreign goods, whether they are superior or not, our propensity to buy foreign goods is very high. And invariably, we are all contributing to the demise, the strangulation of local manufacturing. And as a country, we really cannot grow once our propensity for imports continue to increase. So for us, putting a cap on it, make the Nigeria First policy, we help the local manufacturing, the local industries to actually grow and thrive. The more they grow, the higher our propensity to create jobs, the higher our propensity for government to make revenue, the lesser pressure we'll have on Forex. Because in 2023 alone, over $49 billion was expended on imports. And if you can conserve that pressure on Forex, it also has some level of consequential effect on the value of the Naira. So all in all, we believe it's a positive direction that we have canvassed for a long time. Now, beyond the positive nature of it, government need to go beyond the first policy and actually make production at the manufacturing and services level competitive. Because the fact is, if we say Nigeria first, and the unit price of every goods or service coming from Nigeria is higher than what an average person will get from overseas, the pressure will also be there to try and conserve cost and buy from where it's cheaper. So it's not only about the Naira First policy. The government must also look at what are the impediments to production. And until we address that, then this policy will be just a policy on paper.
And let's talk about the fact that this is not the first time that we've seen a policy pronouncement that was actually welcomed by the organization of private sectors and other stakeholders in the economy, but it turned into a failure due to a lack of commitment to implementation by the government. What do you think will make this one different from the previous ones?
Itself will be the conscience of this policy. We will monitor it. The government has said ministries, department, agencies must not buy foreign products for substitutes. And for many of us in the private sector, we're already doing that. We've changed significantly from the 5 days suit and tie for most organization. Organization like ours, I've said, look, employees can wear, statutorily, you can wear local fabrics, Nigerian fabrics, 2 or 3 times a week, so that the local textile industry can also grow. So if government can give life and show leadership at the ministry level, people can buy locally made products. We can wear Ankara to the office. We can also, the Ministry of Education can encourage the schools, instead of their uniform for secondary, primary schools can be, even nursery schools can be Ankara based. It's just this nationalistic verb that we need to make this work. Beyond government itself, I think all of us must play our very important role in making this economy grow. Without that concerted effort, without that commitment that we want it to grow, it will really not grow. But government must enforce at the MD level, government must enforce at the presidency level. The National Assembly must be seen to support this policy in the context of the procurement, even from the National Assembly. And then it trickles down once we all realize that, look, the government have shown leadership. But we must not take this for granted. Because if you don't deal with the real issues that is affecting manufacturing of goods and products, which are regulatory issues, which are infrastructural issues, the unit price of every product, and which are even power. The Minister for Power said recently that cost of power will still go up, and those are the issues that feed into production. And you cannot like the FCCPC will try to do some time ago, trying to go to businesses, go to supermarkets, contending with the cost price, the selling price of goods and services. If you don't deal with the input cost, then you can't really achieve much. And with the African Continental Free Trade Agreement, that is giving Africa some level of giving Africa itself some level of free entry and free exit, we will just also have to be careful, because products can come from within the African context, within the protocol of AFCFTA, within the protocol of ECOWAS. We can't really stop those products from coming. So the only thing we can do is to make the local production competitive in such a way that the price of a unit of a Nigerian product is less than the price of a unit of an imported product.
All right, Mr. Oyoride, I'm just going to bring in Mr. Joshua Bassi, our editorial director here, to come into this conversation, and he has more questions for you. So over to you, Mr. Bassi.
Thank you, Elizabeth. Good morning, DG. You just talked about compliance, which is, like you said, if government does not do something to ensure that MDAs and agencies comply with this, then of course it will not really amount to anything. So I want to ask you, do you think there should be some compliance requirement and maybe penalties for MDAs who do not fall in line as far as this policy is concerned?
Of the president, I think there already a procedure for procurement, and I think we are at the procurement, the Bureau of Public Procurement, if I get it right, has been mandated to monitor and also review the procurement standards for all the ministry, departments, and agencies. But there should be a monitoring process, a monitoring organ to actually enforce these processes. For us in the private sector, there's no issues. We want Nigeria first. For our colleagues in organized labor, there is also, we believe there's no issues, because the more we patronize Nigeria, made in Nigeria, the more our capacity to create jobs, the more our capacity, our GDP will grow. So for us, there's no real issues. It's at that MDA level that government have to weigh in the big stick, that if you flout it, then there will be consequences, very big consequences.
All right, and how should private employers adjust their procurement and sourcing strategies to actually align with the Nigeria First policy mandate?
For an average business, what he doesn't want to do is to go to the market either through the official market or the parallel market, quote and unquote, to go and spend money on dollars. Well, you can get that product here. It's adds to the cost of production. So an average business owner will rather source for raw materials here because it saves you from the pressure of sourcing for dollars. So it's when the input is practically unavailable that the average business owner will look for, okay, how do I source this input from outside? And because for every dollar that you buy, you are paying over 1,500. So it doesn't make business sense. So the average old business owner will rather source for input locally. And once those inputs are available locally, then it also reduces the pressure that we put on forex for our own general sake. So for the private sector, it's no-brainer for us that look, we want Nigerians to patronize made in Nigerian products, but we need government, as I said earlier. It's a caveat, a very big caveat. If the cost of production is not less than the cost of importation, a rational buyer will just basically buy from rather buy the imported products, and because our borders is also seemingly porous, because of many unofficial border, official and unofficial border that smugglers are using to bring a lot of things in. If this is not done to equip or to protect the local manufacturing, we just realize we have created another opportunity for smugglers to bring in those goods that we don't want imported into this country, because the cost of production in those places is still cheaper than the cost of production within the Nigerian context. So beyond the policy pronouncement, we urge Mr. President, as he has done and will continue to do, to also take a look at what are the impediments to production. As I mentioned them earlier, regulatory issues, power issues, infrastructure issues, and those are the critical issues that can make production quite uncompetitive in this country.
All right, Mr. Bassi.
The population is growing. To be able to, produce, to take care of a population of over 230 to 250 million, estimated anywhere, is huge. And like you've mentioned, the issue of so I'm asking if this policy actually go through like we hope it will. The question is, do we have capacity locally to be able to meet demand? I mean, for a population as huge as ours in Nigeria.
You find a country that is self-sufficient in all ramifications. The principle of comparative advantage will still come into play. Those things that you realize you don't have comparative advantage of producing, then it makes economic sense for you to import those. But the ones you can produce, it doesn't make economic sense for you to import. So we cannot absolutely, in absolute terms, feed ourselves. That's the reality of it. Even if we can feed ourselves, there are certain elements within the course of that value chain of production that by nature, you are not endowed to produce. So those, you can create some leeways, you can create some exceptions. And I remember when I listened to the president, or I read the president's speech, there was a caveat that peradventure there is need for you to absolutely import, then there is a process for approval of that import. I think those are caveats that have recognized the fact that you can't basically produce everything. You can't basically have everything, because no country, as I said, is self-sufficient. But those exceptions, there must be those exceptions must be regulated so that the discretion to import is also regulated. And that is exactly what we are saying. Now, for our population, it ordinarily should be a blessing for any business owner, even for the country, that our population is large. We should be able to feed our population. But the risk is this, if we are not careful, this blessing of population might be exploited by other African countries, because the more they can produce, the cheaper they can produce, the more attractive cheap products will be for the average Nigerians. The average Nigerian whose disposable income is also progressively coming down. So at a point, a rational consumer will ask himself, do I go for quality or I should go for survival? And at that point, the cost of the goods, the unit of goods, will come into play. So we don't have option. We just have to create an environment where production is cheap and where the average unit cost of producing a unit of product is also competitive in such a way that is more economically convenient to buy the Nigerian option than to go for the foreign option.
Yes, and when you talk about making it competitive so that it's easier to patronize the local option than going for foreign option, then what role is expected of private sector employers to develop the local talent? Because what we see is that people go outside for education and all of that too, and then all of this talent is then will I say based, they're exported abroad. So we and that's part of the brain drain we're talking about. So how can the private sector employers, what's their role in developing local talent to reduce dependence on foreign expertise? Because what we have is then when people now come back, then you have to pay them as expatriates and all of that, and that also is it affects it goes deep into your pocket. So how do we manage that?
Issue of talent is quite fundamental in the context of all this issue, and I really appreciate the fact that you raised it. First, let's put the searchlight where it should be first. There's a primary agency responsible for creating the environment where talent will thrive or where talent will be trained. And that is the educational system, the Ministry of Education. The fact is, what is the Ministry of Education doing with our primary and secondary school education? Because currently now, there's a conversation we had early this month that look, our curriculum, even in primary school, does it address the future needs of the business? When we are talking of AI now, we are talking of coding, we are talking of the relevant skills that will drive industrialization in the next few years. What exactly are we doing? What are we teaching our children in primary school? What are we teaching them in secondary school? The Nigerian University Commission, what is the curriculum of the university? What exactly are we teaching them? Are we preparing the university graduates for the realities of the workplace? Those are the real conversations. But for us in the private sector, and I'll share one thing we just did in NECA. In the last 1 year, we have opened 2 academies, ICT academies, one in Lagos, one in Abuja, because we realize that progressively automation, ICT will rule the workplace. We can't. It's not a matter of if. It's a matter of when. And we all can see the impact of AI globally now. Even the higher AI, the conversation about AI is becoming progressive, is becoming rigorous, and is becoming consistent. So we all need to focus on building the workforce for the future. So we opened an ICT Academy in Lagos. We opened an ICT Academy in Abuja. And currently, we are running free introduction to AI course for Nigerian youths. It's running concurrently in Lagos and Abuja centers. It's free of charge, just to reinforce our own commitment to say, look, we are not just employers sitting down waiting for somebody, either the Ministry of Education or the Nigerian University Commission or whatever board or whatever agency to train our youth, to train the workforce that we want. We are also actively taking part in the development of these young ones, of this talent that we are talking about. And that cuts across all or most private sector organizations, because most of them have training centers, they have their own independent academies that is helping to train the workforce that they need. And that is what the private sector has been doing, and that is what we'll continue to do. Whether those individuals, after they have been trained, whether they will go out or not, is a different ball game, because there's mobility of labor. And labor will always find the place that we pay it most. So we can't really control whether labor will move or whether they will stay within the context of this environment. Because on the long run, it boils down to remuneration. If I can earn $1,000 per month in Europe, why will I stay in Nigeria and earn far less? It's part of the discretion that labor has to move wherever it wants to move within the context of migration framework. So we can't control that. The best we can do is to make our own country, make it attractive in such a way that when labor or talent is exploring its options, it finds staying in Nigeria much more attractive than moving out of Nigeria.
Right. And are there any sort of incentives or support that the government is offering to private sector employers who are aligning with this Nigeria First policy in their operations?
Well, the policy was just announced about a week ago, so we are open. There'll be conversations. We'll also be sharing our own recommendation, our own views and recommendations on how this can work and how we can work very well. We'll be sharing with government to say these are our views concerning this policy. These are our views on how we think these things can work, and it can work very well. I will believe strongly that government and the relevant agencies.
All right, I think we have a little bit of a technical hitch there, but we're speaking with Mr. Wale Smart Oyeride. I think we have him now.
Okay. Yeah. Is it back?
Mr. Oyeride.
Thank you.
Please go ahead, sir. You were making a point.
As I mentioned, was that we will make our own policy recommendation to government, because we know sometimes our interest differs. Sometimes government agencies, ministries or departments might be focusing on revenue generation, which also creates which changes the dynamics of their engagement with the private sector. But we'll be sharing our recommendation, our policy recommendation, our alternative policy recommendations and perspective on how this can work and how we can work for the betterment of our country and the rapid industrialization of this country. We'll be sharing it with government, and we believe strongly that those that need to listen will listen.
Okay, DG. This policy is so important that maybe we just need to deepen conversation around it as much as we can, and then touch as many areas as possible. What are key things that make people actually go for cheaper goods? You've mentioned it. If government doesn't do anything to actually bring down the unit cost of what it is that is produced in Nigeria compared to what is coming in, of course, people will always find alternative to what is produced in Nigeria if it is higher in terms of price than what comes into the country. But I want to ask you a question on what do you think government can do, because one of the things that make people go for cheaper things is that there's the high level of poverty in the country. So what will you, the disposable income is so low, and so people will always go for what is cheap. And there's some of these cheaper things are what come into the country. And so what will you recommend to the government to do to at least reduce the level of poverty in the country, to enable actually Nigerian buy what is even produced locally, which would then also impact positively on businesses, to enable them also, maybe take on more employees and then expand their capacity to produce more?
It's relative. Now, you can, during the conversation of the national minimum wage committee, there was a serious conversation we had then about the need for macroeconomic stability. Now, if the macroeconomic stability is absent, if we had agreed that minimum wage will be 1 million per month, and we didn't address the issue of inflation, we refused to address the issue of cost of funds, interest rate, we refused to address the issue of regulatory challenges that businesses are facing or infrastructural challenges that businesses are facing, you realize that your 1 million will not be able to buy the goods that your 30,000 was buying a few years ago. So the critical issue first to address the issue of, and that's why poverty is relative. You can get to a season where your 30,000 is even worth more than your 1 million. Like the way we found in Zimbabwe a few years ago, where you can find 1 trillion naira Zimbabwean dollar, as a paper, and it can't even buy you a loaf of bread. So you just need to address the fundamentals, and why we are experiencing some level of stability now in the economy. I think a lot still have to be done to drag down the inflation rate, drag down the cost of production, drag down the purchasing, the unit cost of goods and services, and that we just have to do. But specifically, I think government need to support businesses more beyond the grants that government is giving. It's a lot of contradictions that government need to deal with. Now, you give an SME 20 million, and this SME found himself in band A, what the NERC call band A. Now, a substantial part of the 20 million has been chopped off, will be chopped up, paying electricity bills. And because he has to pay electricity bills, he will have to factor in that cost into the cost of production. Now, he will have to deal with regulatory issues. Of recent, we had issues, and really want to appreciate the Honorable Minister for Industry, Trade and Investment for intervention with the challenges we have, the Financial Reporting Council levy. We also want to appreciate the DG of PEBEC, want to appreciate the Presidential Committee on Fiscal and Tax Reforms, every stakeholder that joined us to show the negative impact of all these levies and fees everywhere. Now, you pay all these levies, all these illegal and legal fees and levies. Those fees and levies will have eaten deep into the 20 million that you probably collected as a grant or as a loan. It is a loan. You have interest rate of 15, 20, 30% that you have to pay. So we need to address those fundamental macroeconomic issues that are creating bottlenecks to organize business. And this we have shared with government. And once you address those macroeconomic issues, then you have increased the capacity of the organized private sector to employ more. So once somebody is employed, it's a different thing whether the salary is enough or not. But the fact that you are employed, you have been empowered to purchase. So if you don't address the macroeconomic issues, empower the private sector, then progressively you also be fueling the issue of poverty. So empower the private sector by the productivity in the private sector. The purchasing power of the average Nigerian and average household will continue to increase. the more they can purchase, the more businesses can produce, the more we make the environment conducive for businesses to source materials from the local local market, local industry, the lesser pressure we put on the dollar, the lesser pressure you put on the dollar, the stronger the naira will become. The stronger the naira becomes, the more goods naira will be able to buy, and the more goods one naira is able to buy, the more the propensity of the business to produce more. So it's a chain reaction that if you don't deal with one path, you are frustrating or compromising the growth of the other part. So in simple economics, and for us, once production and consumption are going on progressively, concurrently, and they are feeding into themselves, then you'll have addressed the issue of poverty, you'll have addressed the issue of government revenue, you'll have addressed the issue of private sector growth, you'll have addressed the issue of job creation, and you have addressed many of issues, even bordering on issue on what do you call it now, insecurity. But the more the people are employed, the lesser idle hand you have, and the better for the economy as a whole. So our ability to create a nexus, to connect these dots, that if you promote the private sector, then you are not only promoting the business. In fact, you are kickstarting the engine that will result in the rapid growth of the economy as a whole.
All right, thank you very much, DG. I think we have to leave it here today. You have truly, given us a very insightful contribution this morning, and I'm sure Mr. Bassi also agrees with that.
Yeah,
so
sure.
Thank you very much for your time this morning. I hope you enjoyed the rest of your day.
Thank you, DG.
Thank you. Thank you for having us.
Yes.
Well, this has been the big story on the Bdtv Breakfast Show. My name is Elizabeth Musa. Keep watching Bdtv.
I am, of course, a great admirer of the impeccable credibility, professionalism, and business savviness of businessmen. If you really mean business in Nigeria, start your day with businessmen.
Business Day is West Africa's leading provider of business intelligence and information, delivering premium content across diversified media platforms, including online, mobile, and print. Since its inception in 2001 with a weekly newspaper production, Business Day has expanded its reach to provide exclusive content accessible through print, mobile, and online channels. Our premium offerings are further enriched with syndicated content from esteemed sources like the Financial Times, The Economist, and the Harvard Business Review. At Business Day, our mission is clear: to be the foremost provider of business and financial content, empowering readers to make informed decisions in Nigeria and Africa. Since our establishment, we have been committed to delivering insightful, relevant, and accurate information about Nigeria's business and finance environment, while contextualizing the impact of global events. We monitor the stock market, analyze the companies driving it, and report on government policies and their economic implications.
For being consistent in organizing these CEO forums for almost the last 14 years, I think this was a commendation, and I think something that will encourage them to continue.
From decoding market trends to dissecting economic shifts, We offer actionable investment ideas and serve as a compass for decision makers navigating complexity. Beyond headlines, Business Day fosters discussions on critical economic issues through impactful conferences and events. These platforms bring industry leaders together to share narratives that drive innovation and spark meaningful dialogues. Our events galvanize connections, bridging the gap between inspiration and achievement. For businesses seeking visibility, our strong digital presence offers unparalleled opportunities. With millions of followers across social media and a dynamic website attracting visitors from within and outside Nigeria, Business Day is the ideal platform to boost visibility for your products and services. If you're looking for in-depth analysis and expert opinions on Nigeria and Africa's business landscape, Business Day is your guide.
Hello and welcome back to the Business Day Television Breakfast Show. This is where we bring you some of the exciting content and stories to keep you informed and keep you going. My name is Elizabeth Musa. Today I have in the studio the team lead of the Business Day Conference team. Her name is Rachel Edache. She'll be discussing and briefing us on some of the upcoming Business Day Manufacturing Conference and expectation from this highly anticipated event. Welcome to the show, Rachel.
Thank you, Lizzie.
It's very good to see. So this event, let's just start by talking about when this event is supposed to hold. So we're expecting the manufacturing conference to hold on May 29th, if I'm correct.
True.
So what are we expecting from this event? Why is it important for people to attend?
Thank you so much for that question, Lizzie. Okay, so the manufacturing conference will be convening major stakeholders in the manufacturing sector to discuss the theme to unlock the potentials in manufacturing and to give sustainable strategies on how manufacturers have been able to stay afloat amid economic turbulence. So why is it important for you to attend? It is important for you to attend because when you attend as a brand and as a company, you are positioning your brand as a thought leader in the manufacturing industry. You are also sharing knowledge and gaining knowledge as an attendee. And then finally, the most important one for me is to network with necessary stakeholders in your sector.
Right, and I know that one thing we know is that this conference wants to create a conducive environment for the manufacturing sector to thrive. We want to foster economic growth, job creation, sustainable development, foster collaboration among the key players in the sector, whether government, industry players, stakeholders, all of this, all of the stakeholders in the sector, really, that's what it's about. And just a background for our viewers, in 2024, the Nigerian manufacturing sector contributed to GDP stood at 8.2%, which marked a significant timing for the conference as stakeholders now are gathering to brainstorm on how to boost this sector. So who are the kind of people that we're expecting to attend this conference? I mean, in terms of people in the manufacturing sector, just tell us kind of people to expect.
Okay. First of all, like I said earlier, major stakeholders in the manufacturing sector. Let me start with top, which is the Manufacturers Association. Their DG will be in attendance. And we have other policy and tax unions now be attending as well. We have giants in the industry, in the manufacturing industry, like Coleman Wires, Coca-Cola, and other Nigerian breweries and other big players in the manufacturing sector. And we also have investors, financial institutions, because every manufacturing sector needs investors to thrive. So we'll have investors and financial institutions, especially Bank of Industry and other commercial banks. We'll also have trade unions in attendance. And finally, we'll have the government to discuss how to tackle their policy and even their taxation. All of that will be discussed at the event.
And when we're talking about all of this being discussed, what are we looking to see at this conference? Keynotes, panels?
Okay, so this is the event structure. We'll have a welcome address by the publisher, and then followed by that introduction. We'll also have 2 panel sessions and a very interactive question and answer segment. Finally, we'll have networking opportunities for you to meet those you want to meet in the industry.
And we know that Business Day conferences always has an array of some of the biggest people, the key players, right, in the sector. So I'm truly looking forward to attending this conference as well. So how can people be a part of this conference?
Okay, you can be a part of this conference by 3 ways. Number 1, by being a sponsor and partnering with us. And by doing that, you are positioning your brand as a thought leader, like I said earlier. Secondly, you can come in as an exhibitor. We'll have arrays of exhibitors on that day. It's going to be more like a manufacturing fair where lots of brands would have exhibition booths and then opportunities to network and sell your brand to the world. And then finally, you can be part of this by attending to gain knowledge. Yes.
Any other thing you want to share with us today?
Okay, so the manufacturing conference is convening top players in the manufacturing industry, and I think is a huge opportunity for industries in manufacturing to showcase their brand, to convey their messages. We have speaking opportunities for our sponsors. Tell us how you've been able to stay afloat and meet this economic turbulence. Share your success stories, share your woes, share any knowledge that you feel you want to put out there for your brand. And then finally, which is the most important one for me, is the networking opportunity. I love to network. And the way Business Day events and conferences are arranged, you have networking pre the events. That's before the event starts. You have opportunity to network during the tea break session. You have the opportunity to network, and then after the event, you also get opportunity to network. For me, that's a very huge opportunity.
All right. Thank you very much, Rachel Edache. That's the team lead from the Business Day Conferences team, talking to us about the Business Day Manufacturing Conference, which is coming up on May 29th. You should definitely be there. Thank you very much, Rachel.
Thank you.
Well, that was the conference segment here on the Bdtv Breakfast Show. See you again tomorrow.
I am, of course, a great admirer of the impeccable credibility, professionalism, and business savviness of Business Day. If you really mean business in Nigeria, start your day with Business Day.
Business Day is West Africa's leading provider of business intelligence and information, delivering premium content across diversified media platforms, including online, mobile, and print. Since its inception in 2001 with a weekly newspaper production, Business Day has expanded its reach to provide exclusive content accessible through print, mobile, and online channels. Our premium offerings are further enriched with syndicated content from esteemed sources like the Financial Times, The Economist, and the Harvard Business Review. At Business Day, our mission is clear: to be the foremost provider of business and financial content, empowering readers to make informed decisions in Nigeria and Africa. Since our establishment, we have been committed to delivering insightful, relevant, and accurate information about Nigeria's business and finance environment, while contextualizing the impact of global events. We monitor the stock market, analyze the companies driving it, and report on government policies and their economic implications.
For being consistent, in organizing these CEO forums for almost the last 14 years. I think this was a commendation, and I think something that will encourage them to continue.
From decoding market trends to dissecting economic shifts, we offer actionable investment ideas and serve as a compass for decision makers navigating complexity. Beyond headlines, Business Day fosters discussions on critical economic issues through impactful conferences and events. These platforms bring industry leaders together to share narratives that drive innovation and spark meaningful dialogues. Our events galvanize connections, bridging the gap between inspiration and achievement. For businesses seeking visibility, our strong digital presence offers unparalleled opportunities, with millions of followers across social media and a dynamic website attracting visitors from within and outside Nigeria. Business Day is the ideal platform to boost visibility for your products and services. If you're looking for in-depth analysis and expert opinions on Nigeria and Africa's business landscape, Business Day is your guide.
Their leader. When you want to take your business forward, what do? You check your capacity for exploration and your capacity for exploitation. Both are important strategies. Exploration has to do with new markets, new products, new services, expansion, and growth. The exploitation has to do with you deriving value from what is already there. Now you've got to be successful on both platforms. Now to do that, you need insights. You need insights to be able to move from resources to resourcefulness. And the best way to do that, you've got to hang around smart people. Because just a slight shift in your perspective would help you to uncover value where it is. Sometimes it's likely been around you for a long time, but you've not paid attention to it. Now that's exactly what's going to happen in the room at our Business and Leadership Accelerator Roundtable holding in Lagos, Nigeria on May 23 and 24. This is not going to be thousands of people like we normally do, just about 50 people in a room. Smart people. I remember recently at one of our meetings, so one of us took time to give some insights on the psychology of a particular core group that is a part of our target audience. When it was done, I gave him a hand clap. I said, you know what you just did? You just delivered a master class there. I like to hang around smart people. Remember, insight is the key to uncovering value. Now, with that small number of people, I'm also bringing in two of my friends who are highly experienced in business. We're going to be answering questions. We're going to be resolving issues for people. Amazing. Not to talk of the networking value. The first day, the 23rd, we're having dinner together and networking, getting to know one another. And on the 24th, almost the whole day, we'll be discussing together. We'll be resolving issues. Wow, this is the kind of a thing you don't want to miss. So we call it the Business and Leadership Accelerator Roundtable. The key word is accelerator. Why? It's for those of us that want to go 10x, 100x, 1000x. So, by the way, I have a few slots available for one-on-one with some people. I can do it for 50 people, just a few people, but a small number of people. So honestly, you need to just grab your seat right away. It's going to be revolutionary. And this is the only way to deal with the disruptions going on in our world right now. It's the only way. It's not the time to shrink. It's the time to expand. And James Clear says that if you're going 10x or 100x or 1000x, you don't increase complexity. You don't increase quantity. You actually go for simplicity. That simplicity comes through insight. So this is our investment of time and money in gaining insight, in gaining wisdom. Wow, this is going to be life-changing. Anyway, the seats are few. Grab yours fast. And I look forward to seeing you on May 23. Dear leader, the time of increased uncertainty, unpredictability, and volatility is not a time to shrink, it's a time to expand. That is why I'm inviting you to join me and a small group of leaders on May 23 and 24, 2025 in Lagos, Nigeria. Yes, you need to see with new eyes, right? To recognize the opportunities and the obstacles. And that's exactly what we're going to be doing together at the Business and Leadership Accelerator Roundtable. Remember, accelerator. Some people are going to go 10x, 100x, 1000x after this session together. The first day we meet together, it's networking. That's one of the major places where you make your money at a meeting like this. And then most of the day on Saturday, 24th May. So register right away, grab your seat. See you on May 23. Making big shifts is first about quality before it is about quantity. So sometimes what we want to do is to do more of what we're doing now. That will get some progress. That will bring some increase, but it's usually arithmetic. If you want the geometric one, the big jump, you realize it's not that you're going to get more than 24 hours. It's the same 24 hours. It's the same use, it's the same resources. It's more about quality than quantity. That's what I'm saying. It's more about who you are. It's more about your thinking. It's more about perspective. It's more about how you see the world.
It is with great pride that we have convened this assembly of senior officials, decision makers, and experts within the financial market sector. This gathering also includes a number of prominent figures and delegates from leading global and regional financial institutions. Your participation greatly enhances the significance of this conference and reaffirms our shared commitment to advancement of financial market structure and the strengthening of their function as an engine for sustainable economic development in the region. Ladies and gentlemen, this year's forum will be held under the highly significant theme, Shaping the Future, Financial Markets Infrastructure as a Catalyst for Transformation Economies. This theme reflects our deepest awareness of the rapid transformation taking place in the global economy and the role played by the financial market infrastructures in enabling economies and adopt innovative and achieve inclusive growth.
I'm speaking on the subject, which was, I think, picked by Jalo, Africa and the Middle East repositioning in a rapidly evolving global economy. Historically, the Red Sea, the Indian Ocean have served as vital trade routes linking the Middle East and Africa and enhancing both cultural exchange and economic interdependence. Indeed, actually, if I recall as a young student, primary and secondary student, my notion and understanding of trade was not trade between Nigeria, Africa, and the West, but actually trade between Nigeria and Africa and the Middle East. And the trade routes and the romance and the vibrancy and our understanding of how money was created, how wealth was built, was actually along the lines and the corridors of Africa and the Middle East. And so the case for cooperation is very compelling. We share the same challenges: security, food security, energy transition, infrastructure development. But however, together, I think we will be much more effective in addressing these challenges than on our own. And so by leveraging our complementary strengths and collaborating on the fact that we share challenges and therefore we have mutual interests, we can not only balance uni and bipolar influences, but also advocate for probably a more multipolar, more even, more balanced world. By pooling our resources and pooling our diplomatic efforts, I heard the Egyptian ambassador here, our regions can exert much more influence globally on decision making. And so 32 countries comprising 44 members and associates have united under the AMIDA banner, driven by a singular mission to enhance the safety, to enhance the efficiency, to enhance the performance of our capital markets. Well done. I want to demystify the subject of market infrastructure, the subject of what a CSD is for others. Who are others? The media, policymakers, market intermediaries, and so on. Because yours is a very technical function. And yes, it has fundamental important impact. But if you ask most people, why is a CSD important? Most people who actually have the power
Fairness and equity should be accorded to all minorities, white or black, and South Africa can do better with its land reform policies in this regard. Whatever it does, the South African President Ramaphosa does not want to be seen as bowing to Donald Trump, and it still needs to re-engage constructively with white Afrikaners. Hello, welcome to this special edition of Global Business Insights, where we look closer at headlines, moving markets, and offer perspectives on the business environment. LVMH CEO and Chairman Bernard Arnault said yesterday that the European Union must soften its stance towards Trump's trade demands and agree a deal to avoid tariffs and protect European jobs. He added that talks call for reciprocal concessions and that so far he's under the impression talks are not going well. In the US on data, investors await the preliminary S&P Global Purchasing Managers Index. That's PMI data for May, which will be released later today. The PMI data is expected to show that the overall business activity expanded at a steady pace. German leader Merz has confirmed a meeting with US President Trump and hinted at a proposal to remove tariffs on both sides. The Pentagon has also formally accepted a $400 million luxury jumbo jet gifted by Qatar that will be used as the US president's plane despite bipartisan concerns about ethics and security. Donald Trump wants the aircraft, which will need to be modified, to be used as Air Force One, while Boeing completes 2 new jets that have been long delayed. Qatar's Prime Minister has denied that the $400 million jumbo jet gift to Trump was an attempt to buy influence, saying the US has historically accepted gifts from many nations. OpenAI is paying $6.4 billion to acquire former Apple design chief Sir John Ives' hardware startup I.O. in a bet on alternatives to the smartphone as the dominant device to access AI. OpenAI paid $5 billion for full ownership of I.O. in an all-equity deal in which 55 employees working at I.O. will join OpenAI. HSBC has told its UK retail bank staff that their bonuses could be reduced if they fail to come to the office often enough. line managers would start monitoring office attendance more closely, and adherence to its policy could form part of their annual performance review. Marks & Spencer says online services will continue to be disrupted until July after last month's cyber attack. The cyber attack could also hit this year's profits by around £300 million, more than analysts had expected. Bitcoin hit a record high yesterday as growing industry optimism that the US will shortly agree its first regulations for digital assets spurred fresh enthusiasm. The price of the token rose to as much as $109,760, surpassing the previous high of $109,000 set in January and extending its rally of the past month. The Central Bank of Nigeria has issued a draft framework aimed at overhauling anti-money laundering practices across the country's financial sector. The Apex Bank stated that the initiative is also a response to the increasing digitalization of Nigeria's financial system and the growing complexity of financial transactions. Banks and other financial institutions have been given 12 months from the final issuance of the standards to comply with the new standards, which are intended to promote efficiency and ensure full regulatory compliance with local guidelines and international frameworks. Stakeholder feedback is also being sought to enrich the document, and comments are to be submitted by June 13, 2025. On Wall Street, stocks sold off with a high spike in Treasury yields as traders grew concerned that a new U.S. budget bill would lead to a larger deficit and fiscal challenges. Oil futures were also lower for a second straight session after an earlier rally on a report that Israel may be preparing to attack Iran's nuclear facilities fizzled out. The focus was on fundamentals as the Energy Information Administration in the U.S. reported a second straight weekly build in U.S. crude oil inventories and increases in gasoline and diesel stocks. My deep dive is on the rift between South Africa and the US. Yesterday, in talks led by President Cyril Ramaphosa, the South Africa's delegation presented a united front during a heated exchange with US President Trump, in which Trump repeatedly ambushed the South Africans with claims of white genocide in the country. Trump played a video as evidence of white farmer killings featuring EFF leader Julius Malema chanting, "Kill the farmer, kill the Boer." The genocide allegations have been central to an executive order issued by Trump in February cutting funding to South Africa and offering Afrikaners refuge status in the US. Minister of Agriculture John Steenhuisen and others in the delegation assured Trump that despite high crime levels in South Africa, it affects all races, and South Africa still values the US as a key trade and diplomatic partner. Steenhuisen referenced the formation of the Government of National Unity as a pushback against Malema's chants. On concerns that Trump might not attend the G20 Leaders Summit scheduled to be held in Johannesburg in November, Ramaphosa said the US started the G20 and it was important that it continues to play a key role. Trump did not commit to attending the summit, where South Africa is due to hand over the presidency of the multilateral body to the US. The United States is South Africa's second biggest bilateral trading partner after China. South Africa faces a 30% tariff under Trump's currently suspended Liberation Day tariff regime. Presenting EFF leader Malema as a fringe political figure and not representative of mainstream South African politics, and that South Africa was keen to discuss a trade deal and business opportunities may have helped to calm some tensions Also in the meeting, South Africa business tycoon Johan Rupert, who was part of Ramaphosa's delegation, stepped in to back up Ramaphosa, and he also told Elon Musk, that's Trump's South Africa-born billionaire ally, who was present in the Oval Office at the discussion, that his Starlink telecom system were needed in every South African police station to combat crime. Trump will not be won over so easily, and there are problems that obviously need time to allow the heat to cool down. This may just be one of them. Indeed, further attempts by Ramaphosa to placate Trump could lead to political difficulties back home. The geopolitics in post-apartheid South Africa are very complex and unique to a peculiar historical background. China historically played the winning card by supporting local blacks at the right time, and they are being favored for it. There is talk of an upcoming Africa-US summit, which the US hopes will lead to a more beneficial reset of trade relations in a mutual way in a continent seen as the next major frontier for economic growth. It is unwise, and Trump must see that, for the US to ignore Africa or to cultivate it as an enemy waiting to be harvested as an ally by China. We also look at Amazon's annual meeting, where investors rejected all outside shareholder resolutions, including 3 meant to address the online retail giant's impact on climate change. Voters, however, approved the re-election of 12 directors and proposed executive compensation. Shareholders put forward 8 proposals, all of which Amazon encouraged investors to vote against. This year, rejected proposals included one that would have required additional reporting on Amazon's overall carbon emissions, another targeting the climate impact of data centers, and one calling for further disclosure about packaging materials, particularly plastic. All were not endorsed by investors. Amazon said its existing disclosures are sufficient and that it is working towards reducing its environmental impact. One proposal would have had Amazon assess its board structure to consider how it might develop AI more responsibly, while the other would have required a report on data usage and collection around AI. Investors rejected also another shareholder's proposal, where it was suggested that Amazon create a policy ensuring the separation of its CEO and board chair roles. The company already separates the 2 roles between CEO Andy Jassy and founder Jeff Bezos, but not as a mandatory policy. As CEO until 2021, Bezos had also held the chairmanship. Last year, there were 14 resolutions, and all failed to get sufficient votes to be enacted. France's private sector economy remained in contraction during May, extending the current downturn to 9 months. The Flash France Composite PMI Output Index recorded 48.0 in May, marking a 9th successive monthly reading showing a contraction. The service sector remained the driving force behind this weakness, more than offsetting an accelerated increase in manufacturing output. The Hamburg Commercial Bank Flash Germany Composite PMI Output Index registered also at 48.6 in May, also in contraction, down from 50.1 in April. This signaled a modest reduction in private sector business activity, was also the first contraction so far this year. The weak performance also due to contracting service sector business activity, which amid a sustained weakening of demand fell for the 2nd month running, with index at 47.2. Manufacturing production, on the other hand, rose for the 3rd straight month. The Flash Eurozone Composite PMI Output Index dropped to 49.5 in May from 50.4 in April, a marginal contraction for the first time in 5 months, and also signaling a reduction in private sector output midway through the 2nd quarter of the year. The renewed decrease in overall business activity reflected a modest reduction in services activity, which fell for the first time since last November, and at the fastest pace in 16 months. In contrast, manufacturing production continued to rise in May. And in the UK, services PMI recovered to 50.2, beating expectations, while manufacturing in the UK dropped to 45.1, dragging the composite index to a marginal contraction at 49.4. Business expectations also showed some recovery, while weak new order intakes continued to weigh on output. We will get US PMIs later in the day as we see Europe and the UK struggling to expand in May. In Asia Pacific markets, indexes fell, tracking declines on Wall Street as investor sentiment soured on fears that a new US budget could substantially add to the country's debt. US futures are, however, tilting higher ahead of open. Indeed, markets are trading cautiously as they continue to be concerned with the US deficit that may have fueled the previous session's sell-off. The spotlight is now on the budget bill, which could go to a pre-dawn House vote after last-minute revisions late yesterday to win over still unconvinced Republicans. Bitcoin continues to rise, hitting another high of $111,678, driven by optimism that the government will soon pass favorable regulation. Well, that's it on this special edition of Global Business Insights. Thanks for watching. This is Bode Oshosami. Bye-bye.
It is with great pride that we have convened this assembly of senior officials, decision makers, and experts within the financial market sector. This gathering also includes a number of prominent figures and delegates from leading global and regional financial institutions. Your participation greatly enhances the significance of this conference and reaffirms our shared commitment to advancement of financial market structure and the strengthening of their function as an engine for sustainable economic development in the region. Ladies and gentlemen, this year's forum will be held under the highly significant theme, Shaping the Future, Financial Markets Infrastructure as a Catalyst for Transformation Economies. This theme reflects our deepest awareness of the rapid transformation taking place in the global economy and the role played by the financial market infrastructures in enabling economies and adopt innovative and achieve inclusive growth.
I'm speaking on the subject, which was, I think, picked by Jalo, Africa and the Middle East repositioning in a rapidly evolving global economy. Historically, the Red Sea, the Indian Ocean have served as vital trade routes linking the Middle East and Africa and enhancing both cultural exchange and economic interdependence. Indeed, actually, if I recall as a young student, primary and secondary student, my notion and understanding of trade was not trade between Nigeria or Africa and the West, but actually trade between Nigeria and Africa and the Middle East. And the trade routes and the romance and the vibrancy and our understanding of how money was created, how wealth was built, was actually along the lines and the corridors of Africa and the Middle East. And so the case for cooperation is very compelling. We share the same challenges: security, food security, energy transition, infrastructure development. But however, together, I think we will be much more effective in addressing these challenges than on our own. And so by leveraging our complementary strengths and collaborating on the fact that we share challenges and therefore we have mutual interests, we can not only balance uni and bipolar influences, but also advocate for probably a more multipolar, more even, more balanced world. By pooling our resources and pooling our diplomatic efforts, I heard the Egyptian ambassador here, our regions can exert much more influence globally on decision making. And so 32 countries comprising 44 members and associates have united under the AMIDA banner, driven by a singular mission to enhance the safety, to enhance the efficiency, to enhance the performance of our capital markets. Well done. I want to demystify the subject of market infrastructure, the subject of what a CSD is for others. Who are others? The media, policymakers, market intermediaries, and so on. Because yours is a very technical function. And yes, it has fundamental important impact. But if you ask most people, why is a CSD important? Most people who actually have the power to do the things that will make a CSD relevant and important, either in our markets or they don't know. So today, your mission has never been more critical. Geopolitical realignments are reshaping global trade routes. Digital disruption is transforming the rules of settlement and custody, and capital is increasingly mobile and is seeking out the most robust and innovative platforms where it can work. So in this context, countries and businesses across Africa and the Middle East face both unprecedented challenges and extraordinary opportunity.
As a matter of fact, we finally made it, and we are here today in Lagos, and we met almost on the first day to our main objectives. We've seen lots of collaborations among the members, but let's not forget that we are Lagos in Nigeria. There are lots of potential interests. We've seen and learned from NGX, which is a stock exchange, national stock exchange, and also we learned from CSCS about the latest technologies, about the latest development have been made. So most of the members already entered into agreements, collaboration, exchange of knowledge, and today we think we will go back again to our countries and learn from this event, which is very important, and also the latest developments and achievements have been done in Nigeria, particularly on policymakers, regulations, marketplace, and as well as the clearinghouse, which is CSCS. Last but not least, we have also seen how the broker also interact in the market yesterday and today. We have also met few market participants. So yes, we'll go back and we learn a lot from what's happening in this area, particularly in Nigeria. So let's not forget that the more than 40 members among Africa and Middle East with a market, a huge number of market cap. So we've discussed internally on the cross-border transaction we have done among more than 10 members. We came up with a platform that is accessible by any members who enter to this. So today, let's say an investor in Nigeria who has a market setup with one of the local brokers, if they are interested in trading in any market across the African Middle East Association, they don't have to have a local access. So they can use the local broker to access any market, trade, settle, and that's it. So this was the main objective, and this was one of the dreams that we have ever thought of. And today it's up and running, and we are growing as we started with 2 markets. Today we are 10, so we are announcing as we go.
I think one of the biggest challenges is around user education. Investing places a lot of responsibility on the part of investor to know what they are doing. Whether you have financial advisors or not, you still at an individual level need to understand what you're doing. So I think there's a lot of work that we can do around education. I also think there's a lot we can do around providing more investment opportunities to people that need them. There's a lot of asset classes and instruments that exist in the world today, and there's often a mismatch both in terms of accessibility and the education on how to use that to people that it can maybe benefit the most. Some of the work that we're doing in Bamboo is trying to bridge that gap. We invest a lot in education, providing tools, resources on demand, in person, trying to show people and teach them the fundamentals of investing responsibly, the fundamentals of making smart financial decisions for yourself, and also by providing our app that's essentially free and easy to use, trying to create as many asset classes as possible for people across markets. So today we are in Ghana, South Africa, Kenya, and Nigeria, giving opportunities to, about 1 million people on the platform today.
Many challenges, but if I would identify a few, we talk about old equipment. Sometimes dated 15 to 20 years old, okay? We also have the problem of AI adoption. A lot of financial institutions struggle to adopt AI, and usually it's the result of poor API and data quality. We also have the issues of, costly regulatory complexities, and this is usually makes the struggle for cross-border settlement to happen. And he also struggles innovation. So these are the few that we can identify in terms of challenges faced by the financial institution in Africa.
The capital market has been an engine for economic growth and prosperity for a lot of countries because it provides you a platform to crowdfund, to raise capital at a level that is unmatched. Because if you think about it, if you're trying to raise 1 billion naira and you're having to go to individuals to fundraise, that's a lot more tedious work than if you go to a platform and be able to raise money from people who have not even met you before, but they are putting money based on what. And the government is doing a lot in that regard. Mr. President, one of the Mr. President's key interventions in this that is crucial to this space is the laying of 96,000 of broadband infrastructure across the country. What that means is that you can be in the middle of anywhere in Nigeria and be able to access internet because a company now can now ride on the trunk infrastructure that have been invested in building a mast or extending the network to far off places so people can now connect no matter where they are. I mean, look at what mobile phone did initially in bringing people who were in the hinterland and the villages and being able to connect them.
I am, of course, a great admirer of the impeccable credibility, professionalism, and business savviness of businessmen. If you really mean business in Nigeria, start your day with businessmen.
Business Day is West Africa's leading provider of business intelligence and information, delivering premium content across diversified media platforms, including online, mobile, and print. Since its inception in 2001 with a weekly newspaper production, Business Day has expanded its reach to provide exclusive content accessible through print, mobile, and online channels. Our premium offerings are further enriched with syndicated content from esteemed sources like the Financial Times, The Economist, and the Harvard Business Review. At Business Day, our mission is clear: to be the foremost provider of business and financial content, empowering readers to make informed decisions in Nigeria and Africa. Since our establishment, we have been committed to delivering insightful, relevant, and accurate information about Nigeria's business and finance environment, while contextualizing the impact of global events. We monitor the stock market, analyze the companies driving it, and report on government policies and their economic implications.
For being consistent in organizing these CEO forums for almost the last 14 years, I think this is a recommendation, and I think something that will encourage them to continue.
From decoding market trends to dissecting economic shifts, we offer actionable investment ideas and serve as a compass for decision makers navigating complexity. Beyond headlines, Business Day fosters discussions on critical economic issues through impactful conferences and events. These platforms bring industry leaders together to share narratives that drive innovation and spark meaningful dialogues. Our events galvanize connections, bridging the gap between inspiration and achievement. For businesses seeking visibility, our strong digital presence offers unparalleled opportunities, with millions of followers across social media and a dynamic website attracting visitors from within and outside Nigeria. Business Day is the ideal platform to boost visibility for your products and services. If you're looking for in-depth analysis and expert opinions on Nigeria and Africa's business landscape, Business Day is your guide.
Good morning and welcome to the Bdtv Breakfast Show. I am Bethel Obajabi.
My name is Elizabeth Musa.
And this is the social listening segment on the Bdtv Breakfast Show.
We're talking about the Fly Nigeria Act. Can you give us a background into what this is about?
We are here today on the streets of Lagos, Nigeria, to gather opinion about a pressing issue.
I go look at the cost of petrol. We get very Nigeria with the suffer.
The income is not really increasing, but the prices of items are increased.
Nothing like service again, no. You only pray for that money to reach you that month.
There's a lot of high pressure, a lot of stress. There's a lot of high targets to be met.
I was quite strict. In my mind, I said, moving from my hand, my picking go spoil.
To allow all banks and all the players in the space
15% inflation target achievable in 2025.
The command and vision philosophy of both the Chief of Defense Staff, the Chief of Army Staff, and indeed all the service chiefs.
Here, your Yoruba named Akwa Ibom girl welcoming you to Go Local. We took a trip down to the town of Kenta in the heart of Abeokuta, where we met with the Otun Iyaloja of Kenta Kampala Market and a few traders.
Chief Mrs. Olukemi Somuyiwa Odunlami. I am the Otun Iyaloja of Kenta Kampala Market.
Yeah, good afternoon. My name is Kaka Aisha Remilekun.
Adira was once, and still is, a closely guarded family secret in Egbaland. Parents carefully taught the techniques to their daughters, and the wives to their sons. This tradition was so sacred that outsiders were initially barred from participating, as Adira production echoed the whispers of a family's heritage.
Yes, my grandmom did it, my mom did it, and now to me. And by the grace of God, my children are still on it also.
They're learning.
They've learned it. They are growing up, they've married, and they are doing this business.
Okay.
And they are educated too.
Yes.
At least I have PhD holder among them, I have BSc among them, but I made this business compulsory for them. They have passion for it because it's something they grow up with.
It's a family thing. So my mom do, my grandmom, I was born into it. So after schooling, the challenges in the economy, have to come back into the business.
Different countries go through challenges. Our motherland, Nigeria, sure has her fair share of those. In these trying times, the adire makers and producers are also affected by several challenges.
The challenges that we are facing presently is the material we are using. You see, they are not producing the material, the cloths in Nigeria now. Most of the industries that produce it, like Gaspia Textile, United Textile, Arewa Textile, they are fold up. So the white material that we are using now, the brocade, is from China. And you see the dollar is moving up. So it's made the price to cost now. Before, when they are producing it in Nigeria, we do buy it like 100,000 per bill. Even it was 55 before. It's jumped to 100,000. Now it's 600,000 per bill. So it's very expensive presently. Then secondly, the dye that we are using is not made in Nigeria. It's an imported also. So the price has risen up. Even the common candle that we are using is now expensive. It's not made in Nigeria. They are imported. We call it paraffin wax. So with the price now that moves up, it affects the production. You see, when we produce it finish, the price will rise up. There are some we are selling before 880, 880. It's now like 15,000, 20,000. So those are the problems we face now.
Now, this is a call to action for the government to go ahead and invest in infrastructure, because quite sure these companies that produce the white cloth used for adire making would not fold up if the right infrastructures were put in place. Now, this is your sign to go local, buy local, and stay global. Visit any shop, or you can take that trip down to Abeokuta and shop for some adire products. To be part of this podcast, send an email to customercare@businessday.ng with the title Go Local Podcast, and we will be there to answer all your questions. Don't forget to follow us on all social media platforms at BusinessDayNG.
This is a National Cane Weaver Association. Normally we call it Cane Village. My own name is Dennis Omadide from Delta State, the chairman of National Cane Weaver Association in Lagos.
My name is Adebayo Olamide Sandra. I run sanora.ng on Instagram, which is a rattan business.
The production process is, this is a raw material. We thank God for Nigeria because the cane we are using, not that we planted it, is from the forest. The guy came from the other states, from Edo State, even Ondo State. So we have a different body, we have a supplier. So when they come to Lagos, we buy them. So after buy them, we now do the process. How can we scrape the cane to make sure we can bring the cane to design anything needful. So that is the process of the cane. After cleaning it, you use it to work. Like if you see what is there now. After cleaning, that is why you get all these finishing work. You know, I have a lot of process. We scrape it, we tear it. After tear it, then we have to smooth it so that we can use it to design whatever that we do. And most of the time, they are in the market, you can see. Because I'm not working now, but they are finishing products. We use hand, we doesn't use machine. Well, this is, we call it water cane. We have two types of material. We have water cane, we have willow cane, willow. Those are the two material, the major material we use in Nigeria here. But in the best cane work in the world, Indonesia, their cane is planted, but our own is from God. So those cane, they can never finish from the forest, because in as well forest exists, the cane also exists. So we, after they bring them, we buy them. When we buy them, before we can come to cane like this, when we are even in primary school, we know how to do handwork. And the handwork is from cane. Sometimes we used to tie broom. Sometimes we will do something like cagey fish. So in that process, we know how to use the cane in the village. Because most of us, we are not from here. Because the majority in this place is from Delta State, 99%. So we know how to do cagey fish, do handwork. When we come here, we now know that cane is so very useful for many things. So that's why we put the idea through even the white men who give us catalog. Then from there, we have been working. That is how we enter this. The challenges of this work, the place we are now, this is not the best place for the business. We want a place that we can use it as a tour. When people came, they will come and see what we are doing. But presently now, based on Lagos State, there's no new place. We need a place that we can display our market, showcase our market, so that people will know that we are operating, because now we are under the bridge. But see yet we are still managing this place because there is no land and we have no authority. That is why we are managing this place. But this is the center of the business for all Nigeria. This is the center. In terms of finance, even apart from the finance, we want the government to intervene on the work. Because some time ago, we wrote to, we under a ministry of, we are under the ministry. So they promised us that they will give us a better place. And after that place, when we even work, they can export the work to another country so that they will not say that our youths are not working. So even students will train them. Those in university, we have a lot of graduates here anyway. Some people they are abroad now from this work.
Wow.
We have at least less than 3 people are doing their master in the US from here. So we want the government to teach us more because they know better than us. We are not trying to operate on our own. But by the time they put their knowledge on the work, I think we expand more better way for Nigeria.
You can use rattan for literally anything. I always tell anybody that you can use rattan for literally anything. You can use rattan to make a standing fan. I'm not kidding. You can use rattan to make vases. You can use rattan, for your interior decoration. You can use rattan for your event decoration. I mean, look at beautiful traditional weddings. Have you seen what makes them beautiful? Rattan, you guys, raffia products, right? So yes, you can use raffia products for mirrors. You can use raffia products. You can use raffia products in hotels. You can use raffia products for consoles, TV consoles. You can use them for mats. You can use rattan product for literally anything. You can use them for chair. I wish my rattan chair was here that I could see that one. Gosh, you can use rattan for that as well. You can use rattan for literally anything, yeah.
Customer is not coming, but based on the online, we are selling. After you produce, you deliver, they pay your money. And we are not the people that will collect money for someone and will not do the job. And that's why we have a leader. So if anyone does such, we cut it. I think we brought it to book. Based on the online markets, and those that do the events, they are really promoting us. That's how we are still sustaining for now. Raffia is made by goats. We have 2 types anyway. We have rattan, we have cane, we have another one, but all the name is under rattan. One is rubber,
Okay.
One is cane, one is glass. It's like a leaves. So those are the three major things we really use here. But the best one is cane. You know, it's from God. Even the other one that is leaves. It's not as last as cane, but it's beauty. It's fine. You can see this one now. This is rubber.
Okay.
This
Can I?
yes. They brought this one from like this one. This one you see now. This is rubber, but we call it rattan.
Okay.
They export this to come, and it's very expensive. It's not like cane, but it does not last as cane.
Skin.
When you see that, you like it. But
It's fine.
Yes. But even though we can use cane to do it, then the only thing we will now spray to this milk color. We can use cane. We can now spray to this color. And why this cane? When we started this work, when those white people that are coming, we didn't know that they are taking the measurement of our cane. They take it from here, and we don't know. They begin to start to produce this long ago, and it is we that doing it now. When they came to Nigeria before, we learn work from them, but we tell that you cannot come to our country, they will learn work from you, and that's why we take over the business.
This is the Craftsmanship Chronicles series on Go Local, and on this episode, our focus is on wood, trees in our hood. Kemi Michael here, your Yoruba named Akwa Ibom girl, welcoming you to Go Local. Now, Go Local is a podcast where we delve deeply and explore our nation's local uniqueness. Go local, buy local, and together we stay global. As we get into it, do also grab a cup of your favorite drink and a snack you would love to munch on. Oh, and make sure to make it a Nigerian snack and get ready for an amazing ride. Since humans first realized they could make use of the materials they found in the vicinity, wood has been used and altered by us. People eventually learned about the special qualities of wood as they utilized it to satisfy a wide range of human requirements in peace and conflict, farming, and industry. Throughout history, trees and their wood have been essential to human existence. Since ancient times, wood has been one of our most vital building elements, used for construction as well as for production of tools, weapons, and furniture. Wood has historically played a key role in a lot of areas, and we Nigerians are part of that history. For this episode, I went to the Itamaga sawmill in the Ikorodu area of Lagos State, where I was able to speak with the General Secretary of the sawmill.
My name is Alhaji Kabiru Adebwega Ibrahim, and this is Sogidowo sawmill Itamaga. So I'm the secretary to the association, General Secretary to the association, Sogidowo Plant Marketers Association of Nigeria.
Here in Nigeria and around the world, we have several uses of wood, such as agricultural purposes, for making musical instruments, for carving religious figurines, to create household furniture, for casket production, for fortification, as well as for source of energy supply, for example, our firewood and general logs for fireplaces. The wood production in Nigeria has specific process, and I will leave the explaining for the experts.
The woods normally come in 2x6. That is for roofing. So when they buy to the, like the ones you are looking there now, and it's 2x6. So when they bring it here, if you want to saw it, you saw into 2x4, 2x3, 2x2. Those are the roofing planks. So we saw it to those sizes if you need it for roofing. So we take it from the shed down to the machine side. So we saw it there. If it is roofing, So it's all 2x4, 2x3, 2x2. So for facing board, that one is 1x12, 1x12x12. So now like the one that they are putting down there. So that is 1x12x12 for facing board. So after you roof to facing board, so you cover breeze or whatever. So that's what they use that one for. So to seal the roof with the ceiling. So that's what they use it for.
Just like other industries, the wood industry sure has its challenges.
The challenges we usually face is the problem of this marine police or guard or whatever. You know, they are extorting us too much. You know Nigeria, that's Nigeria system, corruption. After we will have saw wood, process it, take the license, but they usually collect approval for wood, any wood cut. After that, if you pass through the water, if you this marine police or whatever see you, they will still collect money as if you never collect any paper. So that's the Nigerian problem. So we face many challenges, yeah. At the same time, after they are coming from the river, the canoe bash, those the trucks that are coming into the sawmill, those are the policemen on the road trying to collect something, collect money. Those are the challenges we have.
Vegetation of Nigeria can be broadly classified into two types, that is, forest and savanna. Now, according to Statista in 2021, Nigeria exported forest products amounting to nearly 109.7 million US dollars. Most of these products were roundwood and sawnwood, amounting to roughly 52.4 million and 8.1 million US dollars, respectively. Other main exported forest products included paper and paperboard.
The wood always come from Bayelsa State, Ondo State, Edo State, and from Oyo as well. But the one coming from Oyo, that's 1x12x12, and at times 2x12. But 2x6 wood for roofing normally come from Bayelsa, Edo State, Ondo State, and at the same time from Ogun State, Ogun Water side. The customer you have, if it is an old customer, you must have a relationship. He can call you on phone and place order. So you call transport for him. When you've concluded with him for the quotation of the wood, so if you help him process it, you call transporter to transport it. So they will take it down to him. Or some do come inside to the market by themselves. So they will negotiate price, buy the wood, call a motor to pack it. Because the transporters they have their own association as well.
According to the United Nations, Nigeria has the highest deforestation rate in the world, with an estimated 3.7% of its forests lost every year.
That's what I'm saying, our problem here. And these forestry people that are supposed to be handled that Ministry of Agriculture. Wherever they cut timber, supposed to plant it back immediately. I know they don't do that. In a question of say 5 to 10 years now, there will be the issue of a wood scarcity. Those places that I'm talking the other time, Bayelsa, Edo, whatever. If you want to get wood now, it's very, very far to the upland, to the river itself, to the swamp itself, too far. That's why the wood is very hot now.
This is a call to action to the Department of Forestry, Federal Ministry of Environment. We in Nigeria are losing our trees and we need a solution to this loss. When one tree is cut down, I believe 10 more should be planted in its stead. Wood in Nigeria plays a very vital role, and leaving our forests to chance of the trees growing on their own accord is very risky. We need to be more intentional about our forests, and yes, also the trees in our hood. If you've ever wondered where you can get wood from, well, look no further. The sawmill at Itamaga area of Ikorodu in Lagos is right there for you. Now, if you happen to be a lover of DIYs, or you're a professional woodcarver, an artist that uses wood for their craft, or one who uses wood in their everyday life, for example, writers? Well, always remember, wood is good, but we need more trees in our hood. Plant a tree today, save our environment.
You are watching Business Day Television.
I am, of course, a great admirer of the impeccable credibility, professionalism, and business savviness of Business Day. If you really mean business in Nigeria, start your day with Business Day.
Business Day is West Africa's leading provider of business intelligence and information, delivering premium content across diversified media platforms, including online, mobile, and print. Since its inception in 2001 with a weekly newspaper production, Business Day has expanded its reach to provide exclusive content accessible through print, mobile, and online channels. Our premium offerings are further enriched with syndicated content from esteemed sources like the Financial Times, The Economist, and the Harvard Business Review. At Business Day, our mission is clear: to be the foremost provider of business and financial content, empowering readers to make informed decisions in Nigeria and Africa. Since our establishment, we have been committed to delivering insightful, relevant, and accurate information about Nigeria's business and finance environment, while contextualizing the impact of global events. We monitor the stock market, analyze the companies driving it, and report on government policies and their economic implications.
For being consistent in organizing these CEO forums for almost the last 14 years, I think this was a commendation, and I think something that will encourage them to continue.
From decoding market trends to dissecting economic shifts, we offer actionable investment ideas and serve as a compass for decision makers navigating complexity. Beyond headlines, Business Day fosters discussions on critical economic issues through impactful conferences and events. These platforms bring industry leaders together to share narratives that drive innovation and spark meaningful dialogues. Our events galvanize connections, bridging the gap between inspiration and achievement. For businesses seeking visibility, our strong digital presence offers unparalleled opportunities, with millions of followers across social media and a dynamic website attracting visitors from within and outside Nigeria. Business Day is the ideal platform to boost visibility for your products and services. If you're looking for in-depth analysis and expert opinions on Nigeria and Africa's business landscape, Business Day is your guide.
watching Business Day Television.
Good afternoon and welcome to the Bdtv News at noon. My name is Elizabeth Musa. Let's see what's making the headlines this afternoon. OB slam federal government over 7 trillion naira budget fraud allegations. Flight delays, cancellations soar on aircraft scarcity, poor rescheduling. Court fixes June 12 to hear DSS lawsuit against Utomi. Trump confronts Ramaphosa over alleged white persecution in South Africa. Tottenham bids United to clinch UCL sport. Let's begin the news in Nigeria, where the 2023 presidential candidate of the Labour Party, Peter Obi, has launched a scathing attack on the government following revelations of alleged corruption worth 7 trillion naira in the 2025 national budget. Obi accused Nigeria's leadership of turning the country into a crime scene after Budget Transparency Organization Budget uncovered what it claims are fraudulent project insertions in the national budget. The allegations center on 7 trillion naira worth of questionable projects allegedly inserted into Nigeria's 2025 budget, a figure that exceeds the combined allocations to 4 key government ministries. According to Obi's analysis, the fraudulent amount surpasses the total budget for the Ministries of Education, Health, Humanitarian Affairs and Poverty Alleviation at 260 billion naira and Agriculture and Food Security. Moving on, nearly 50% of domestic airlines flight operations have either been delayed or cancelled in the last 12 months as aircraft scarcity and airline schedules continue to disrupt flight. According to reports, airlines have been hard hit by a series of challenges ranging from aircraft scarcity to poor flight scheduling. These issues, amongst others, have continued to cause delays and cancellations, leaving several passengers stranded. Industry analyst Olumide Odoayo revealed that data on flight cancellations and delays by the NCAA have been able to expose the level of flight disruptions in the country. Now to end the local news, a federal high court in Abuja has fixed 25th of June to hear a suit filed by the Department of State Services against Pat Utomi over his recently launched shadow government. Presiding Judge James Omotosho fixed the date after Akinlolu Kehinde, counsel to the DSS, moved a motion ex parte seeking to serve court document on Utomi at his Lagos address through courier service. Kehinde claimed that the Secret Service has been unable to send the court document to Utomi while the judge granted the application. The initiative launched by Utomi aims to serve as a credible opposition to the President Bola Tinubu administration. And on the foreign scene, United States President Donald Trump confronted South Africa's President Cyril Ramaphosa at the White House on Wednesday with unproven claims that white people are being systematically killed in the country. During a tense meeting in the Oval Office, Mr. Trump alleged that white farmers face persecution and were fleeing South Africa. However, South African officials and experts have rejected these claims as false. The United States President made several disputed statements during the meeting, noting that people flee South Africa for their own safety as authorities confiscate their land and in many cases, people kill them. To end the news, Tottenham has defeated Manchester by 1-0 to win the Europa League final, lifting its first European trophy in more than 4 decades to qualify for next season's Champions League. It's the first major title for Tottenham since it won the English League Cup in 2008 and the first European triumph since it won its second UEFA Cup, the equivalent of the Europa League, now in 1984. Brennan Johnson squeezed in the winner at the end of the first half of Wednesday to help Spurs salvage a dismal season in which it will finish near the bottom of the Premier League standings. The title guarantees Spurs a spot in next season's Champions League and brings some much-needed relief for manager Ange Postecoglou after he had struggled to keep his team on track all year. Well, that does it on the BDTV News at noon. My name is Elizabeth Musa. Keep watching BDTV.
I am, of course, a great admirer of the impeccable credibility, professionalism, and business savviness of Business Day. If you really mean business in Nigeria, start your day with Business Day.
Business Day is West Africa's leading provider of business intelligence and information, delivering premium content across diversified media platforms, including online, mobile, and print. Since its inception in 2001 with a weekly newspaper production, Business Day has expanded its reach to provide exclusive content accessible through print, mobile, and online channels. Our premium offerings are further enriched with syndicated content from esteemed sources like the Financial Times, The Economist, and the Harvard Business Review. At Business Day, our mission is clear: to be the foremost provider of business and financial content, empowering readers to make informed decisions in Nigeria and Africa. Since our establishment, we have been committed to delivering insightful, relevant, and accurate information about Nigeria's business and finance environment, while contextualizing the impact of global events. We monitor the stock market, analyze the companies driving it, and report on government policies and their economic implications.
For being consistent in organizing these CEO forums for almost the last 14 years, I think this is was a commendation, and I think something that will encourage them to continue.
From decoding market trends to dissecting economic shifts, we offer actionable investment ideas and serve as a compass for decision makers navigating complexity. Beyond headlines, Business Day fosters discussions on critical economic issues through impactful conferences and events. These platforms bring industry leaders together to share narratives that drive innovation and spark meaningful dialogues. Our events galvanize connections, bridging the gap between inspiration and achievement. For businesses seeking visibility, our strong digital presence offers unparalleled opportunities, with millions of followers across social media and a dynamic website attracting visitors from within and outside Nigeria. Business Day is the ideal platform to boost visibility for your products and services. If you're looking for in-depth analysis and expert opinions on Nigeria and Africa's business landscape, Business Day is your guide.
Essentially, contactless payments is still very new at the infancy stage in Nigeria. But as RedTech, we're quite forward-thinking organization. And what we'll be contributing to this is enabling payments, essentially between POS terminals and mobile app technologies. The expectation is that based on the ecosystem, where we have a lot of actors, RedTech being a fintech company as well, will be taking a lead in driving contactless payment so that we can help to power confidence amongst other players such as commercial banks and consumers in the ecosystem. I must appreciate the coordinator of today, Business Day. I salute them. It's obviously a recognizable brand in the media space. And also, I must also appreciate all of the participants, particularly the representative of the MD of the Nigerian Interbank Settlement System, the Mr. Premier Oiwo, represented by Ugo, the speaker before me, who was able to give us the journey so far in terms of digital payments and the evolution of the digital innovation products in Nigeria. I was able to also leverage some of the information shared in his presentation to also let us know that it's a gradual progress that we're going to realize in contactless payment. Based on the persona of consumers, essentially, they tend to react to change. This is expected. So it's going to be, the progress in contactless payment is going to be gradual. As I mentioned, it might be best to look for a niche in deploying contactless payments. And that niche essentially would ensure that maximum security experience, whereby even if your credentials has been compromised as a consumer or infringed upon, your funds can still be recovered. That will boost confidence before exposing contactless to other means whereby it is of a higher risk. That would be my personal advice to the industry. RegTech originally started as a purely ICT company. And what I mean by ICT is software licensing, OEM reseller. We were a representative of over 23 international OEM brands in Nigeria, supporting the financial industry, other financial institutions, and also energy sector. But today, as a company, we have evolved into financial service space where we provide fintech solutions. And not only that, our payment volume has grown to over $1 billion worth of transactions per month. In year 2024, we processed up to 16 trillion worth of transactions, which is significant based on the fact that this was our first year in the fintech space, essentially. We've gone through a year one of gestation period. This is our second gestation period. Obviously, based on experience, it takes about 3 years, 36 months for a full gestation period for a fintech. And as I mentioned, in our first year, we recorded about 16 trillion worth of transactions a month. Today, that has also grown significantly. In year 2025, in quarter one, we've recorded about 6 trillion worth of transactions processed already. That's an average of 2 trillion plus per month, meaning that by the end of the year, we'll be recording over 24 trillion worth of transactions, if not more.
Ethnos is providing some a significant measure of security assurance for the ecosystem, because we help to solve security problems. We help to assess your environment, your infrastructure, your connections, your services, and then look at it from the security point of view and provide that kind of assurance that people require that to build trust in the ecosystem. And not only that, we're also building database of security intelligence, building local data so that security interest people, government, can have data local that they can rely upon, not just looking at data that's coming from outside. Currently, we rely on data that are coming from foreign companies, Checkpoint, there's Kaspersky, there's Cisco, but we're now building local intelligence, extracting data from the environment that we can use to make sense. So Ethnos is not only just providing assurance, but we're also building resources and data that can be relied upon to make good security-related decisions in Nigeria. Now, apart from helping organizations to look at the environment, providing assessment and all of that, we've also been able to build our own homegrown applications. The first one that we have built is securing mobile applications. So if you have a mobile application right now, we can perform a scan of that application for you, detect your vulnerability that exists there, the bugs that exist there, the issues that can be exploited by criminals. We can detect it for you before the criminals, show you to you, guide you how to fix it, and you can fix it. When after you have fixed it, we can also help you to provide shield, provide protection, so that even if there are weaknesses that exist on the application, we can shield you from attack. Okay, so we do that, and not only that, we also help you to monitor those applications, and you're able to use consumer user behavior to improve the services that you provide to our users. That's one of the things we do. We have also been able to build capability to fix the human vulnerability that exists within the security ecosystem. For example, what we call awareness training. So we can conduct simulated attack, okay, for your staff, so that your staff, you can detect for your staff what kind of risk they pose for you, and then guide them to get trained, get them breach those loopholes, and equip them to be able to apply human shield against security threats. So we'll build this local, I don't call it local really, we'll build homegrown solutions that have taken into consideration what we have learned from providing services in Nigeria and Africa. So we'll build it in Africa, in Nigeria, for the African market, and then of course to apply to global market. So we have two applications that we have built, and we are constantly conducting researches. We are researching on other areas of need right now, and as soon as we identify area of need and market readiness, then we'll build another solution. So we are a home for security protections for the African market. A couple of things. First is we can no longer shy away from technology. It's a must. So what we need to do is to prepare, put our hearts in order, and be able to compete and ensure that technology is enhancing human behavior, is enhancing services, and of course, is improving our communication and engagement with business and the consumers of business. That's one. Two is that we have to realize that as a society, it has government or private sector, we need to look at how we can constantly improve the use of this technology. We can't shy away from it anymore. There's just no way we can run away. And so we have to embrace it, we have to prepare to adopt it, and we have to equip ourselves to be able to respond efficiently and effectively to the demands of technology. Those are the two things that I've taken away from here. And we are ready, the market is ready, the market is huge, and there are people here locally who are able to support the demands of this technology and the demands of service to ensure customers are receiving good experiences, and businesses are growing, and the economy is growing, and everybody is good for it.
Huge thanks to Business Day for putting this together. First off, the panels were very well put together. We had people from